name is Sam. Thanks for checking out this video. If you get to the end, liked, subscribe, bell notification, thumbs up. I hope this is okay quality. It's another gray day here, so I was gonna film a couple videos today, but I'm just gonna film what I need to, hoping that tomorrow might have some sunshine. It's pretty optimistic of me to think. But anyways, I wanted to talk to you about the books that I read this past week. For the most part, it was all pretty good ones, which was nice. And I feel like I was supposed to say something else, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe I'll just do one of those. Oh! Halfway through the videos, I remember what it was. Anyways, books that I read this week. Let's talk about them. First off, I started off with Blood Air by Amelia Wenzel. This is one I've been curious about for forever, since basically the cover reveal. That's gonna bother me, sorry. Since the cover reveal, and then there was the whole scandal about it, and then they decided that they're going to publish it, and I'm actually really thankful that they did. I went in knowing that there were claims that it was racist towards African Americans specifically, but everyone I knew that had read it was confused by that, so I was like, okay, just go in looking for maybe microaggressions or tons of metaphors that are specific to, slavery that was in the United States. Maybe they're just missing something. And I've read it now, and I had no idea what any of the criticism. I don't know how different from the arc this was, but actually, no, that's not even true. I have someone that read the arc and this, and they were like, none of the, there was no controversial stuff, removed, right? So, I just don't know what people were seeing. I'm concerned that we're looking at everything from a North American-centric point of view, which actually not even North American-centric. We look at everything, every book that we review and criticize and publish from an American, not Canada, North America, an American-centric point of view, which is problematic in itself because we have authors that publish things from all over the world, and there is world history, not just the history of the United States. So I'm really kind of tired of that, which is why I love when we do I put together the TBR and Beyond group challenge, the annual reading challenge, and literally I constantly try and get people to read a book by an author that is not American. When you even look at this whole We Need Diverse book campaign, which is fantastic, look at how many authors are American. It's like over 90%. That is not really what I consider diversity. Especially when you look at how people of different colors are treated in different countries, alone looking at Canada and the United States is absolutely astounding. So I really, really wish we would actually acknowledge this crap, that we look at everything and you're like, well, in America, and you're like, no. This is look at things from a different perspective, okay? It's just kind of exhausting and infuriating. But honestly, this was a really solid YA fantasy debut. I really, really, really enjoyed it. The main character, I will absolutely call this out, the narrator of this audiobook is the same narrator who read Stronger Than a Bronze Dragon, and I literally DNF Stronger Than a Bronze Dragon because the audio narration was ruining it for me. I really, really detest the narrator that they pick for this. I can't remember what her name is off the top of my head, but I've actually flagged it. I've got it on a sticky note on my computer, and I just don't think I'm going to be listening to books that are narrated by her anymore. It just ruins it. She does this stupid gasping, the girl seems timid and weak kind of thing. While listening along, reading along to this, my brain was replacing it, and I had just read Charlotte Holmes series, so I was replacing that with the narration of the Charlotte Holmes series. I don't know who narrated that series. I love the narration of that series, or the person who narrated The Black Witch. Actually, that might be the same person now that I'm thinking about it. Either way, there are narrators where I'm like, yeah, that's alright, or yeah, that was pretty basic. But then there's authors where I'm like, stop ruining this. And honestly, there was such a disconnect from how the narrator portrayed these characters with her voice and what their actions were. When I totally removed her voice from my head, it really, really elevated all of the characters. I feel like the narrator really brought down the quality and just the perspective of the main female character. She's a strong character, and all of that was taken away with the narration, which I hope, I doubt they will, but I hope they will change the narrator for book 2. I can promise whatever, hope, but yeah. So, Crumbling Kingdom, air kind of pushed aside, and she is trying to get back because there's like political conspiracies and everything, and there's the whole there is slavery in this based on what your powers are. So I'm not totally sure how that was in any relation that just because it's slavery it's automatically racist against African Americans. That was the only thing that I was like, maybe that was the confusion, because our fandom is big on, not fandom, why do I keep saying fandom? The YA community on Twitter is big on being like, well, it includes racism, or it includes segregation, so therefore it is racist. When that is literally, when you use that, you actually reduce the value of that word because you're not using it correctly. And when you call out racism, acknowledging racism and being racist are two very different things. It's exhausting having to explain this constantly again, and that's why I just stay off Twitter now. Well, and that's not true. I just go on Twitter for BTS content. That's kind of it. So, yeah, I would really highly recommend this series. I really like the princess and her relationship with the con man and how that kind of develops throughout the whole book. So, yeah, I would really highly recommend this book. The characters are great. I thought the magic was interesting because there's all these different, like, has control over blood, but everyone has all these different aspects of magic that they like excel at, which is also just fun to mess with when you look at the world of, if I could control just this one thing, what would it affect in the world? Because we never think of like how things are made or anything like that, right? So I really enjoyed this. I'm really excited to see what happens in the sequel. It's also really hella pretty in person, a really well designed book, and I feel like for the actual writing as well, its debut work, I was really impressed, actually. I didn't feel like it fell into a lot of the same pit traps as some debuts do, and I'm really glad they went ahead and published this, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. Then I picked up Loki, Where Mischief Lies by Mackenzie Lee. I think this is set to be a trilogy, the Anti-Heroes trilogy from Marvel. I don't know if they're all going to be... I don't think they're all supposed to be Loki. I think they're picking other anti-heroes. I don't know if they're all going to be Mackenzie Lee or all different authors or what. I just hope they stick with kind of a general theme, because the DC Icon series fell off like the kind of the rails at the end. They picked like 3 strong female authors, and then they just randomly threw in Superman by an author who was accused of doing some sketchy things when the whole Children's Lit scandal came out, and then like it was just never acknowledged, and I don't know anyone actually that's read Superman because of it. So I hope they just stick to either just like all queer rep or all female writers or some sort of consistency. I just pretend DC Icons was a trilogy and we don't acknowledge the Superman. So I honestly I know so many people were hyped about this, and the whole thing happened with this Madness Blooms with Mackenzie Lee, and I think a bunch of people lost interest because of it. So I was curious. I just hadn't heard a ton since it came out. Which was weird, because I'm pretty sure this hit New York Times bestsellers when it came out. I'm like 99% sure. Anyways, I kind of freaking love this. I am not a consumer of the Marvel movies. I didn't realize until like a handful of years ago that all of those movies were intertwined in one plot, like one giant plot. I didn't know that. I've seen Doctor Strange. I think I saw the first Iron Man. And I saw... No, Deadpool's not them. I watched one other one. Maybe it was Thor. And then, like, someone was like, no, like, all of them have, like, overarching characters and arcs and stories, and I was like, I don't have the time to deal with, like, a 20-movie thing. I can't deal with that. So, I was curious about this. I have read a couple comics with Loki in it, but I feel like I'm more comfortable and have a little bit more knowledge of, like, the Viking aspect of Loki and Thor. That's where my general knowledge comes from, and I don't even have a ton of that. So I was curious about this. I absolutely loved what Mackenzie Lee did. He is really good at not being good and not being bad. He never has something that goes too evil to the point where the going evil or the going good kind of moves are like invalidated almost. Like there's a really, really good balance in here of him being that gray character that bounces back and forth. I love the discussion on nurture versus nature. I love that Thor is kind of a dick in this. Like, he's not like a crazy psycho power hungry dick, but he's kind of a dick in this. So is Loki, so is their dad. So I liked that we had this kind of, like, we didn't have this idealized, like, oh, Thor is always good kind of mentality. I feel like she stayed pretty loyal to what these characters are widely known to be. I loved Loki's, like, just dialogue when he gets sent. He's in Asgard, and his dad, for a variety of reasons, he gets sent to Earth to deal with a bunch of murders that they think is related to their magic system. So he shows up and he has to work with a bunch of humans that are trying to figure out what's happening on Earth, and he interacts with all these people in this Victorian era, and like someone makes a comment about high-heeled shoes or like him being effeminate, and he's like, yes, what is that supposed to be bad? Like he's totally like uncomprehending of gender norms in the time period, and I was like, yes, man. Like, it was just so satisfying, especially as I'm, like, reviewing these books right now, like, while I'm filming. I'm reading A Mad Wicked Folly, which is just spewed with sexism from men to women, because it's before the suffragette, or it's during the suffragette movement, and men are feeling, like, intimidated of, oh my god, like, these fragile female minds, and then Loki's like, yeah, wear high heels, whatever. And then there's a couple, he is gender fluid and pansexual, and then there is a side character who, it's never, like, given, like, a specific identification, but it is a man, and they've said he does have attraction to men, but it doesn't explain if it's bisexual or pansexual or just gay. None of that is explained, because the character's like, I don't know, I just never talked to him about it, which I kind of love, because they're like, oh, whatever, who cares? Sometimes he dates dudes, like, whatever. So I love that there was that representation in it. It wasn't a main focus, but there were characters in there, and I just loved Loki in here. I liked the dialogue. There was a couple funny moments. It reminded me a little bit of Wonder Woman, when Wonder Woman goes to World War II? No, is it World War I or II that they're in? It's World War II. They fight the Nazis. When she goes to England during World War II, Chris Pine's like, well, you can't carry a sword out and around like this. And she doesn't understand any of the gender norms. It did remind me a little bit of that. So there was that comedic humor that I was really looking for, because it is Mackenzie Lee, because of Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. So I really enjoyed this. I didn't know what to expect, so it didn't necessarily like live up or not live up to any hype. And yeah, I'm just going to keep watching Mackenzie Lee. I'm curious to see what she does with this Madness Blooms. I hope she fixes everything that she does. And I feel like she's an author with a track record that you can look at and be like, she shouldn't have made these mistakes, but she's acknowledged what the mistakes were, and she's going to fix them. And I'm curious to see if she's going to fix them. Because we need more positive rep. And like I said before, Own Voices rep is great, but we need to be just generally authors writing the world. Just because you're white doesn't mean that you only write white characters. You know what I mean? So, highly enjoyed this one. I can't wait to see what else this series, what path it kind of takes. Oh my god, I feel like I'm rambling in this video. Sorry. Okay, this week I also read One Day in December. This was voted on in the TBR and Beyond group, and the one of two books that we ended up picking to read in December by Josie Silver. I had never heard of this book. I think I'd probably seen a cover somewhere, because it's been out for a couple years now, but I don't think I would have ever picked it up if it wasn't for this group, and I kind of end up loving it. It takes place over several years. The main female character, I think it's Laura, right? Yeah, Laurie, sorry. She's on a bus. She's, you know, in early college, university, and she sees this dude on a corner while on the bus. They have a moment, and she spends a year looking for him, and then all of a sudden, after this year, she still hasn't found him. Her best friend and roommate shows up, and her boyfriend, her new boyfriend, is the guy that Laurie was looking for. And then there's this, like, kind of almost like over a decade that they both fall in love with other people, but they're not out of love with each other, and they have this, you know, unspoken agreement. If we're not telling other people, we're not going to tell my best friend that we had that moment. Did we have that moment? We're just not acknowledging it. Okay, we did have that moment. Like, and life goes on, and the heartbreaks that happen in that. So I thought, like, I thought it was interesting. It was just, maybe it's because of my age right now. I am 27, so I related to a lot of the struggles and strife that Laurie and her roommate are going through, though I don't have a long-term boyfriend, and I've never gotten to travel to Thailand. I just thought it was an interesting read, and it was nice and light, and I think it was also real, not super too cheesy for me. So I really did enjoy this. So shout out to the group for nominating this book, because I would have never read it otherwise. Then I picked up The Sickest Piece by Megan Whalen Turner. This is the fifth book in the Queen's Thief series, and I did track the final book. The sixth book is supposed to come out in August 2020. That is far later. I don't know if I just misremembered it being in March or May, but it's in August now. So either I misremembered or they pushed the date back again. Whatever it was, it's coming in August, so I'm ready for this. This is also a series where I feel like it's not super, like, nitty-gritty detailed, so you don't have to like reread the whole series every time a new book comes out. Like, it's going to stay in my brain, and then when I want to binge it after all of the books are out, maybe I'll binge it the year after. Whatever. I really enjoy this series. I love the writing. I love Megan Willen Turner's writing. It's not too dense. It's got just a specific style. It doesn't give too much information that to the point where you're just bored. It gives you exactly what you need, and then a little bit extra. So you can paint this whole world. You can paint these characters. The characters I freaking love. You can kind of comprehend the politics. There's always a bit of a twist at the end that you're like, oh yeah. And then if you don't remember the rest of the series, you can be like, oh my god, I remember this part of, book 3 or whatever. That's how this ties in. I loved it. So it's one of those series where you can kind of step in and not vividly remember everything of the previous books and still, like, enjoy the read, which I feel like is kind of difficult to do nowadays. And even the story, I feel like if you'd given it to another author and they had written it, the vast majority of authors would have like double or tripled the size of this and added all these extra different arcs and characters and whatever. We don't need that all the time. It's a simple, straightforward plot in this world, and it's just perfect. I love this series so much. I love the characters. I love the politics in it that's going on. It's never like super dumbed down, but I don't think they add in all these unnecessary things. And she just writes really, really well, so I just never, like, foresee what's coming, but then it comes and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's cool. That's really weird. I just love this series so much. And lastly, I read Blood of Elves by Andrzej Sapkowski, and I, for the life of me, can't regurgitate what the summary of this is, so just look it up. I was nervous about reading this because, A, it's a translation. I think it was originally written in Polish or Ukrainian. I want to say Polish. It's an older series, and it has, like, elements that I feel like are always in high fantasies, and especially adult high fantasies, I tend to struggle a lot with them. There's just too much happening. So I was nervous about picking this up. I also had someone say, read the audiobook narrator. They just released new narrations or something like that for the series. It's really good. And then so we had to buy it from my libraries anyways because the TV show is coming out. So I borrowed it from the library. So I listened along with the audiobook. I actually really agree. The narration was really, really good. I don't know, when I look at the trailer, I don't know how much it matches with how I envisioned it with the narration of the audiobook. It just seems a lot more lighter than what the trailer for the TV show looks like. I've never played the video game, so I don't know the relationship to that. I don't even know if the TV series, or I guess it's not a TV series, the Netflix series is supposed to be season 1 is book 1, and season 2 is book 2. I have no idea. I don't know how far they're going to stray. I honestly don't think I will read the rest of this series. Not because it's necessarily bad, I just have a ton of fantasies to read, and I feel like this is one that I'd enjoy, but I feel like this is, when I read this and I was like, this is going to be an awesome adaptation if done properly. So I feel like I'm like, this medium's cool. I feel like I would enjoy it in another medium more. So I'm going to watch this TV show. If I end up enjoying the TV show so much, why do I keep calling it a TV show? The Netflix series, if I enjoy it so much that I want to come back and then read them, I'll look into it. I'm curious to see if they're going to release new book covers because these are bad. I would never buy something that looked like this. So I'm curious if they're going to release new covers. Normally they'll do like TV poster ones, but I'm wondering if, because it's like kind of relaunching this older series, if they'll do like new covers. The way that they kind of did with like the naming had covers and they added a book to it, and then all of a sudden they kind of rebranded the whole series because it's older. Same thing with The Queen's Thief. So I'm wondering if they're going to do that with this because it is going to have much more visibility in the wide stream now as well. So I'm curious to look into that. If I see new covers that are pretty, maybe I'll try and grab the first one and try and like read the whole series. We'll see. So right now I'm like, this was an enjoyable book actually. It was probably like a 4 out of 5 stars. I liked the characters. I thought the politics was interesting. There's a lot of world building going on with like kind of built into all of the politics and the mysticism and the magic between all of these characters and this world, because there's a lot of like background information. I'm wondering, because I know there were 2 novellas before this that I don't read. I honestly just generally don't like novellas for the most part. I'm always like, just incorporate that into the main book, people. So I don't know where I was going with this. I enjoyed this. I don't think I'll continue on with the series. I just don't know that I would enjoy a big long series like this, but I will absolutely watch in for the TV. It's not a TV series. The Netflix adaptation. I know that season 1 is supposed to come out December 20th or 22nd, and they've already renewed it for season 2 before it's aired. I think based on just the positive reception of the trailer. So I'm really curious. I'm gonna watch it and then see what people's reactions are who have read the book versus the TV series and see how different it is and decide from there if I want to go on and like read the full, I think it's 6-book series. But yeah, this was kind of a surprise. There were no translation issues. I'm so happy after the issues I had with The Winter's Promise. I didn't see any of those big hiccups there. It was very naturally written in the English language. So shout out to their translator. They did a really good job on it. So those are all the books that I read this week. Let me know in the comment section down below what you read this week. I'd love to know if you've read any of these. I would also love to know your thoughts on that. Sorry, this is really bothering me. I can't decide if I want the sunglasses like black or silver, like up or down sequins. Yeah, I will link all of these books in the description box down below. I will also link all of my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you